How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, to recap the divisional round of the NFL playoffs from this past weekend. 4 games to break down, give you my thoughts, and also give you some of my thoughts from the national championship game last night, as the Indiana Hoosiers are your college football national champion. And what a season they had, going undefeated, knocking off the Miami Hurricanes, who had a great run in the playoffs this season in college. So before we get into that, I do want to break down all the NFL stuff. So, like I said, 4 games to break down. The one I want to get to first is the Broncos-Bills game, because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about, and I want to get right into what I have to say with this game. So I know there was a lot of controversy surrounding this game, particularly with the officiating, with some of the calls in this game, late in the game, mainly in overtime. For me, what it comes down to is this. The reason why the Bills lost this game, the number one reason why the Bills lost this game, is it falls on the shoulders of their quarterback, Josh Allen. Josh Allen is the number one reason why the Bills lost this game. Now, the Bills' offense in total had 5 turnovers. 4 of them were by their quarterback, and one of them was by James Cook in the first half, in the first quarter. It was their second drive of the game, I believe, their second offensive drive of the game. But this falls on the hands of their quarterback. You cannot turn the ball over 4 times in this game, and especially you can't turn the ball over late, very late in the first half, when the first half is basically over, and gift wrap the other team points, which is exactly what Josh Allen did. And I saw a video that showed from previous playoff runs by the Bills where Josh Allen could have turned the ball over, but the defensive player dropped a potential interception, or Josh Allen fumbled the football and a Bills player jumped on top of it. So Josh Allen could have had more turnovers over these last couple of playoff runs, but didn't. But this was the game where he didn't get the breaks, okay? And nor should he have, okay? Now, some of the turnovers in this game by Josh Allen, I wouldn't say are all on him. Like, for example, the overtime pass, right, to Brandon Cooks that ended up being an interception. That was just a great play by McMillan, and believe me, we are going to talk about that. And also, I would say the fumble out of the half in the second half, Bills get the ball to start. That was on his blind side, okay? He didn't see the rusher coming and lost the football there. But the other 2, they're on him. They are on him 100%. The one that really infuriates me is the one before the end of the half. And again, it's on Josh Allen. The defense is still to blame, don't get me wrong, because the fact that they let the Broncos get a touchdown right before the end of the first half, the defense that they were running, they should have just played for the 3. They should have had the Broncos kick a field goal, but they didn't do that. And Bo Nix made a great play to little Jordan Humphrey, who dropped a touchdown earlier in the game. The first drive of the game, he dropped the touchdown, but he made up for it. That was inexcusable. And the Bills, again, injuries were a problem. Darnell Savage had to play a pivotal role in this game with the injuries in the secondary, and the Broncos picked on him, and then later Marvin Mims caught the touchdown over him, a nice catch by Marvin Mims. So, yeah, like, the Bills' defense does not get excused, but you can't let that happen. And then, what does Josh Allen do? The Bills are super aggressive before the end of the first half. Josh Allen takes off and scrambles with the football, and then I don't know if he went to try to pitch it to somebody, but he ends up losing the football. Bills' offensive lineman had a clear path to recover it. I don't know how he didn't recover it. And then the Broncos jump on top of it, and Will Lutz kicks a field goal. So instead of it being 13-10, which is what I thought it was going to end up being 10 in the first half, 13-10 Broncos, you go into the half, you get the ball in the second half. It ends up being 20-10 Broncos, and that was the difference in the game. And then Josh Allen fumbles the ball, sack fumble, Broncos recover. Bills do make a key stop to limit the Broncos to 3 points. and then it's 23-10, and then all of a sudden the Bills offense comes alive, the Bills defense makes key stops, and the Bills all of a sudden, they had a 24-23 lead. Josh Allen locked in. But that right there, that sequence, horrible sequence by the Bills, that was the difference in the game. You can blame overtime, you can blame the officials, you could blame the defense, which again, defense, they were a problem at times with the touchdown pass, and Bo Nix made some nice throws in this game, some big-time throws in his first career playoff game. But it comes down to the quarterback. The quarterback is the reason for the Bills going home early. I'm not excusing Josh Allen. I'm not doing it, because I see all over the place, all over social media, even on television. Oh, and again, I do feel for Josh Allen. I want to see Josh Allen get a ring. He deserves it, but he's the reason they lost. And you take a look at his press conference after the game. He's crying. He's saying, I let my teammates down. Because he knows he played a really sloppy game, and he prevented his team from moving on to the championship game. Where in the past, like when they lost to Mahomes 42-36, that was not on Josh Allen. Josh Allen played a clean game, played a great game, put up 36 points. Chiefs put up 42. He never got a possession in overtime. And that's the other thing too, everybody. Do we forget that the Bills are the reason why the overtime rules are different now? They wanted these rules to change. They had a possession in overtime. The Bills' defense got a stop in overtime. And the Bills couldn't get it done. Couldn't get it done. And again, McMillan made a great play. Now, to me, initially, when talking about this play, I mean, it was almost the same as the previous week against Jacksonville. 3rd and 10, you're heaving it up to Brandon Cooks. It looks like Brandon Cooks came down with it, but McMillan is the one that comes away with it. And it's just, then you saw some other plays that happened over the weekend. Devontae Adams caught a pass that the Bears defender ripped away from him, and then you thought for a moment that was going to be an interception, but it was ruled a catch. I don't know what a catch is. I have no idea what a catch is anymore. I not to say I don't know what a catch is anymore. I still don't know what a catch is. All right, how many rule changes do we have to go through before we know what a catch is? It just, look, it is what it is at this point. To me, it shouldn't have come down to that play. If the Bills played a clean game, they would be playing this weekend against the Patriots in Foxborough. That's the bottom line. You can't blame the officials. You can yes, the defense, they did not play great at times. The secondary got torched by Bo Nix. The number one reason, everybody, to hammer this home again, it is on the quarterback. Josh Allen is the reason the Bills lost this game. And I thought, and even the second drive of the game, look, James Cook fumbles the football. I thought the Bills were going to go up 14-3, and then that was going to be it. That was going to be it. The Broncos were done if the Bills went up 14-3. But they got a key turnover. And then the Broncos go down the field. They score 7. You see an offensive lineman score a touchdown. And, it's another disappointing finish for the Bills. And the other thing, too, is not only with the turnovers, but missed throws. He had Dawson Knox open right before the Prater had to kick the game-tying field goal, and he overthrew him. The Bills' defense gets a turnover. Interception off of Bo Nix. Bo Nix trying to hit Evan Ingram. Interception. What happens immediately after that? Josh Allen throws an interception. It can't happen. It can't happen. And your defense, with the amount of injuries that the Bills have, you have to be perfect. And look, I was fine with them being aggressive before the end of the half. Because I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? The worst happened. Turn the ball over. And immediately the Broncos cash in. They're able to cash in, kick a field goal. And that's it. And look, like I said, Josh Allen locked in. They took the lead. They had a 4-point lead late. But the defense just couldn't get the stops when they needed to. Bo Nix made some big-time throws, and they went down the field. And even though we go to back to overtime again. I know we're jumping around. The play before that, if Josh Allen makes a better throw to McCole Hardman, now Hardman I think still could have caught the pass. McCole Hardman makes that catch on third down. They're in field goal range. They are across. They are well into Prater's territory. McCole Hardman's wide open. You make a better throw there. Hardman catches that. You run the ball a couple times with James Cook. Kick the field goal. Prater was money. Going up against his former team, and they brought up the field goal that he made, the record-long field goal he made there back when he was with the Broncos back in 2013. I think, what was it, a 64-yarder? Bills should have won this game. But once again, you come up short. No Mahomes, no Lamar, no Burrow. This was the year to do it. No excuses. You had the most, other than Aaron Rodgers, you had the most playoff experience out of any of the quarterbacks in this conference this year. And then you go to the divisional round. It was there. It was all there for you. But you could have get it done. And again, all I'm hearing is, oh, Josh Allen needs more help. And don't get me wrong, he does. But let's not pretend that he's not the reason they lost this game. He is the reason they lost this game. He was. It should not have come down to that pass to Brandon Cooks. This game should have been won had you played a clean game. And you didn't. You don't win the game turning over the ball 5 times. Don't. And the Bills were carving up. The Bills were moving the ball against the Broncos defense. I mean, they were moving up and down the field. It's just the turnovers is what costed them. And, they got back in the game. They took the lead, but then when the Bills defense really needed to make a stop, couldn't do it. So the Broncos now move on to the AFC Championship game. But they will be without their starting quarterback, Bo Nix. There is no Bo Nix next week. Broke his ankle the second or third to last play of the game. He ran with the football, took a hit, ends up injuring his ankle, broken bone in his ankle. He's out. When my friend sent us a tweet about it in our group chat, first of all, I was like, there's no way. I'm like, he had to be fooled or something. But then you see Schefter and all that, and you're like, wow, this is legit. And then Sean Payton confirms it. So Jared Stidham is going to be starting an AFC Championship game next week. Jared Stidham. I mean, the Broncos won the game, but at what cost? At what cost? You're going to be without your starting quarterback, who played a very good game. Like I keep saying it. Big-time throws on third down. The touchdown passes, especially to Marvin Mims. That was a dot. That was a dime. And now you got to rely on Jared Stidham. And Sean Payton spoke very highly of him. He's very confident. Trying to make us all, be confident in him. But, I mean, that is a tough spot to be put in as a backup quarterback. Because we saw Nick Foles. I mean, Nick Foles got a couple of regular season starts under his belt. And Nick Foles also at one point was a full-time starter. Jared Stidham has not been that. Now he has to start an AFC Championship game against his former team, the New England Patriots. So that's something. But that is a killer blow to the Broncos' potential Super Bowl berth. Now, could they still do it? Yeah. But it is going to take a Herculean effort by their defense. Kind of like the 2015 Broncos when Peyton Manning did not have a great year. Had one of his worst years, if not his worst year. But Peyton managed the game. And the defense, they got the turnovers when they needed to. And the Broncos did enough offensively to capitalize off of those turnovers. And that's why they ended up being Super Bowl champs. I mean, the defense carried the Broncos all year. It's one of the greatest defenses I've ever seen in my life, watching football. Between them and the Legion of Boom, those are the two best defenses of my lifetime. And the Houston Texans, I mean, if I had like a top 10, that Houston Texans defense from this season, definitely in the conversation. Like in the top 10. Because they were great this year. We'll talk about them in a little bit. But yeah, that's what the Broncos are going to have to do. And they're going to be going up against the Patriots. So, we're not going to be seeing Peyton versus Brady. We're going to be seeing Stidham versus May. So, not as great of a matchup as... to me, that just sucks the life out of these playoffs. Because these playoffs have been so good. I mean, there's been a couple of clunkers, and we're going to talk about them in a little bit. But these playoffs have been great. And this AFC Championship game now, like, a lot of the juice has been sucked out of it because of Bo Nix being hurt now. But we'll see what Jarrett Stidham has. But again, Bo Nix, for his one and only playoff game so far in his... Actually, no, his second career playoff game. But his first career playoff win. I might have said first career playoff start earlier. I meant to say his first career playoff win, second career playoff start, because he did play the Bills last year. So I apologize for that. I definitely said that, but Bo Nix played really well. He played really well. So now he's gonna have to be a cheerleader. He's gonna have to be a cheerleader, and the Broncos are gonna have to change up their game plan, and we'll see what they can do. We'll talk about it more on Friday when we do our picks. But again, Bo Nix, second career playoff start, first career playoff win. Apologies for, I forgot about it. The Broncos want to forget about that game from last year because, the Bills blew them out. But they got revenge on the Bills this time around. And because of that, Sean McDermott is out as the Bills' coach. They will be looking for their next head coach. We will see who that ends up being. And I know there was debate on if this was the right move. Again, similar to Tomlin, similar to Harbaugh, you get to a certain point with these guys, but you can't get over the hump. And I don't think it all falls on him, based off of what I said so far, with the quarterback not playing well. But I do think the writing was on the wall for him, too, that he was going to be on his way out. Now, being their general manager, he ended up getting promoted to president of football operations, where a lot of people are saying he should have been out. Yeah, because, the roster is not great. I mean, you take Josh Allen off this team, I mean, how many wins are you winning? How many wins are you getting with this team? Not a lot. Not a lot. The defense needs a lot of work. They got to improve the wide receiver room. I think they got good tight ends. You got a very good running back. But there's a lot of work that needs to be done with this team. But this was the year to do it. Because next year, it's not a guarantee, man. Mahomes is going to be back. The Chargers are going to be healthier. I mean, we'll see what happens with the Bengals. We'll see what happens with the Ravens. It's going to be, it's tough. And if you can't get it done this year, when are you going to get it done? And I thought that with Josh Allen and him putting on the Superman cape, I thought that was going to be enough to get them to the Super Bowl. I didn't anticipate that he was going to turn the ball over as many times as he did on Sunday. Because if that's the case, then you got no shot. And you got to be perfect. You have to be perfect because of the injuries with your defense. And it wasn't the case. So the Bills go home. Who knows when it's ever going to happen? Who knows? So yes, it's going to be the Broncos hosting the AFC Championship game next week, and they will be going up against New England Patriots. Now, before we get to that game, we got to get into Rams Bears before that. We got to talk about that game because that had some crazy moments in that game. So, not as much scoring. There was times where both offenses just couldn't get anything going. But both quarterbacks, when they had to make a play, they made it. I thought some of the play calling by Ben Johnson was a little questionable, at times by the goal line, and because the Bears went for it on fourth down quite a few times and weren't able to convert. You also had a drop pass early on in the game that could have been 7 points. I mean, the Bears left points off the board. And you cash in, Bears are walking away with the victory. Now, I thought the Bears were going to win after the insane throw by Caleb Williams that we'll get into. But they left some points off the board. I thought at times they should have put the ball in Caleb. Now, Caleb, again, made the play of the game when he had to. But at times, the ball was taken out of his hands, and I think that was a bit of a mistake. Because I have thought that the Rams secondary is vulnerable, and Caleb Williams and that offense was exploiting that. And then, obviously you want to balance the offense out with your running game. But I feel like the Bears, like I said, in the one possession by the goal line when they went for it, the ball should have been in his hands. They should have been throwing it, and maybe you cash in there. The Rams offense struggled. Again, both offenses struggled. The Rams offense struggled. Really couldn't get anything going. They finally found a rhythm with the running game and Kyren Williams, and that was big. I mean, he had the touchdown late in the game. But yeah, Stafford just looked off. Did not play a great game at all. I give credit to the Bears defense too, because this was a defense that I thought was going to be better this year, and they really weren't that great. But in this game, they were. They were putting pressure on Stafford. Like I said, did not play a great game. Devontae Adams really didn't do much. Puka Nacua made some big plays when he had to. But yeah, the offense was the offense wasn't in a rhythm for most of this game. And look, again, similar to Josh Allen, Caleb Williams, 3 interceptions. Not all of them are his fault, but yeah, it's that makes a difference. They went for it. Opening drive of the game, rather than taking the points, Caleb throws a pick, so you don't get anything. And that was on fourth down anyways. You had the pick in overtime where DJ Moore, there was some miscommunication between Caleb and DJ Moore because Caleb had time. Caleb had time to throw, and there was just some miscommunication there. And that basically sealed it because the Rams were able to get into field goal range. Now, I didn't like the play calls there either. They were taking some deep shots. I think you should just run the ball with Kyren Williams. Now, they did talk about on the broadcast that the Bears are very good at knocking the ball out, so I guess, Sean McVay didn't want to risk that. But if you don't really trust your field goal kicker, obviously Mevis did end up making the kick, but, you get some yards with Kyren Williams to make it easier on yourself. And they tried to go for the win right there. So, I was not a big fan of taking those deep shots because I was like, it's not a guarantee. Mevis did end up making the game-winning kick, and the Rams got the win. But, yeah, I wasn't really in agreement with that. But, yeah, the offenses were quiet. Rams go ahead late, and then the play of the game, 4th and 4, Caleb Williams just running for his life, running backwards. It looks like the game's going to be over, and he just heaves it up, and somehow Cole Kmet is open in the back corner of the end zone for a touchdown. I don't know what the Rams defensive backs were doing on that play, but that was an unbelievable play by Caleb, finding Kmet, being able to heave the ball up, get that pass off, for the touchdown. I thought the Bears were going to go for two because I saw the offense was still on the field, but they did go for the extra point. They went into overtime. I thought all the momentum shifted to the Bears. Bears are going to win the game and pull it off. But that was just an unbelievable play. That now, again, we've seen some amazing throws in the postseason. That is one of them. I mean, that is up there. And it's back-to-back weeks now on fourth down that he makes these plays. Even though he was on the losing side of this game, this guy is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's only going to get better. He is only going to get better. This team is only going to get better. And this is going to be a force to be reckoned with for years to come. The Chicago Bears, they have their quarterback. I mean, he just continues to show it. And you're never out of a game. You're never out of a game. When you think the game is over, no, this guy just catches fire, and nobody can stop him. So I thought the Bears were winning this game, but it didn't happen. The Rams defense, they played well in this game too. Like I said, they got the 3 interceptions off of Caleb, and that made a difference in the game. So at least the Rams defense showed that, they gave me a little more confidence going into next week because, again, I have to see them going to the Super Bowl and winning it. It's just the offense now, there's concerns there. But, they're going to be going to Seattle next week, playing a team that they know very well. A team that they could have arguably swept this year, and vice versa. The Seahawks could have maybe swept the Rams because they did have a chance to win that first game. But yeah, this was a very exciting game, late drama, and now the Rams have an opportunity to go back to the Super Bowl again. Potentially the third time in the Sean McVay era, and Stafford's trying to get back to another Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford's actually 4-1 in the divisional round now, all time. And the only loss was last year. The only loss was last year against the Eagles, and he had a chance to win that game. So, yeah, I mean, again, just another exciting finish with that game. And the Bears, look, they had a great season. They won the NFC North. Yeah, I know some Bears fans are very down after that, but look, you got your quarterback. Your team is heading in the right direction. You got a bright future. This is going to be a very good team, and they just got to continue to add to it, improving on their weaknesses. But you got your quarterback, and your quarterback is great. He's a lot of fun to watch, and it's going to be a treat to get to watch him now for the next decade. But yeah, you came up a little short. It happens. But yeah, 20-17. The Rams win. They're back in the championship game. So now we get into the other two games. They were both essentially blowouts. Patriots Texans. It was close in the beginning. But this is another game. Turnovers made the difference. I think there was, 8 combined turnovers in this game? I mean, it's not like the Patriots played a clean game either, but that's because the Texans' defense is just unreal. But the Patriots' defense is also very good. If I saw this graphic that I forget what sports account posted it, but it was if C.J. Stroud would have just, I think it was just spiked the ball or basically did a kneel down the entire first half, he would have a higher passer rating than what he had by playing his normal game. Yeah, Stroud was not good. Stroud was so bad that the Texans really got to consider are they going to give him a long-term contract? That's how bad it was. 4 interceptions. 4. And he could have had more. He was putting the ball in harm's way. Like almost every time. Almost every pass. And some of them, it's like, take a sack. Because there was that one where he got crushed and he still threw it up in the air. That got picked off. I think that ended up being a pick 6. But, and one of them was tipped. The receiver didn't corral it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what he was thinking on some of his passes. Trying to do too much. And look, the Texans don't have a great running game. They were missing Nico Collins. I get all that. But you have this great defense that is giving Drake May a hard time. You cannot put the ball in harm's way. And that's what he did. That's what he did. If CJ Stroud would have just managed this game would have been closer. And who knows? Now, a lot different opponent for them this week because, you know, the Steelers, I mean, they were in control of that game, even though that game was close going in the fourth quarter. But there's really never a point where, other than the very beginning, where you thought the Texans weren't going to win. This game, you know, you had to do a little bit more offensively because, you know, Patriots are going to be a tougher opponent. But, yeah, Stroud made a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes. And it's going to be interesting what happens now. He is a guy that has really regressed. His rookie season, he looked like he was going to ascend as one of the better quarterbacks in the league, but he's just gone backwards. Now, still won a lot of games this year. You know, I mean, Texans did go on that hot streak with Davis Mills at quarterback, but, you know, C.J. Stroud at quarterback, the Texans win football games in the regular season. It's just you get to the postseason. Yeah, he has three playoff wins, but you get to the divisional round, and once again, the Texans do not win in the divisional round. They don't. And you wonder when. And they wasted a great performance by this defense. You know, the defense can only do so much. And, you know, once the Texans fell behind by multiple scores, you knew the game was over. I mean, you kind of knew that even before that. But, you know, even then, like, the Texans still were in the game. It's just, you were looking away from the TV every time Stroud dropped back to pass because you just were like, is he going to throw another one? And again, he came very close to throwing more than just 4. He could have had like 7 picks. That's how bad it was. So, but the Patriots, I mean, they're back in the championship game again. You know, again, Drake May didn't play a clean game by any means, but he made some really good throws. I mean, the touchdown pass to Kashawn Boutte, that was a thing of beauty and a great catch by Boutte on that. You know, now you're going up against the Broncos next week, and the Patriots have not fared well there in the past, but it's different now. Times are different now. But you know, Drake May has not played well in these 2 playoff games, but you know what? Doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter. They've won. You know, and going up against another tough defense next week, you play some clean football. You know, your defense gets some turnovers. I mean, Patriots, you know, now going to be facing a backup quarterback. Set up for them to win and get back to the Super Bowl. And, you know, we'll see what happens. But look, I mean, Texans really just had no shot in this game with how Stroud played. And again, running game, I mean, Woody Marks had a fumble in this game as well. I mean, Stroud just, these 2 playoff games, I mean, not great. So it really is going to be interesting what the Texans do long term at quarterback. Because that's just how bad he played in these 2 games. And you just get average quarterback play. Probably win. Maybe. But you got below average quarterback play there. And, yeah, now the Texans go home after a good season. I mean, look, give them credit. They were 0-3 at the beginning of the season. And then they ended up winning 12 games in the regular season. It's very impressive. You know, the defense, I'm not sure what the contract situations are with some of the defensive players, but, you know, you're not going to be able to keep that defense together. You know, you're going to have some veteran guys are going to have to go. I mean, you're going to have to pay Will Anderson Jr. a ton of money. You know, Daniel Hunter's getting older. They got some older players on that defensive side of the ball. So we're going to have to see what happens there. But, look, this is a good team. Get healthy next year. You know, we'll see. But, man, C.J. Stroud. It's going to be a long off season because that was tough to watch. That really was. But it wasn't as bad as the game the night before between the 49ers and the Seahawks. Now, thought the game was going to be close. 49ers were getting a ton of points. And I thought that they would keep it close. I thought they would keep it close, within the number. But when Rashid Shaheed takes back the opening kickoff, that was it. That was it. The Seahawks did basically everything they did the previous matchup, made Brock Purdy's life very tough. I think he had, what did he have, like over 400 yards of scramble yards, because he had to do a lot of running around and he took some hits and turnovers. There was fumbles. It just interceptions. It was a rough game for the 49ers, and Christian McCaffrey got banged up, and the defense just they couldn't stop anything. They couldn't. And once again the Seahawks relied on their running game, and Zach Charbonnet actually suffered a knee injury, a torn ACL, so he's going to be out. So that's a big loss to their backfield. But Kenneth Walker, he's been running the football very well as of late. But the running game does take a huge hit there. Sam Darnold threw a touchdown pass to Smith and Jigba. Seahawks were in full control of this game from start to finish. They flexed their muscles here. And they really beat up the 49ers. 49ers just ran into a juggernaut. They ran into a better team, the healthier team. And that's not to say the 49ers can't get back up next year with the healthier roster and try to go at it again. But yeah, that was tough. That was tough. I mean, the game was over. They never had a chance. They never had a chance. But you got to give Kyle Shanahan and that team a lot of credit, because the amount of injuries sometimes is like too much to overcome. They won 12 games, and then they won a playoff game too. So, I mean, I think Kyle Shanahan deserves Coach of the Year. The fact that they got that far is impressive. But yeah, you just ran into a better team. The Seahawks are a very good team, top to bottom. Well coached. Mike McDonald has done great. I mean, all he does is win football games since he took over as the head coach. Took over for Pete Carroll. Again, team I didn't have making the playoffs, but they look really good. They look like arguably the best team right now left in the entire thing. And Sam Darnold's playing some clean football right now. I mean, he had some. He popped up on the injury report. Looked fine to us, right? So Seahawks are going to be hosting the championship game next week against the Rams, and I mean, like it's amazing, right? Do I have the stats from the two meetings between these teams? I think I do. Yeah. So the Rams and Seahawks, right? They split the season series between each other. The Rams have put up 58 points. The Seahawks have put up 57, and then both teams have put up over 800 yards of total offense in these games. 830 by the Rams and 829 for the Seahawks. And now they're facing off once again for a trip to the Super Bowl. I expect it to be another great game. I do. Even with the Rams not playing as great as they were earlier in the season, this is going to be a very good game. These are two teams that know each other very well, and I think it's going to be another. It's going to be another great game, and this is going to be the second of the two championship games, and it's going to be a good one. It is going to be a good one. Look, I don't think the Broncos, with Bo Nix being out, I don't want to completely dismiss them like they have no shot. But it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough not having Bo Nix there. But these are the championship games. You got the Seahawks taking on another NFC West opponent, and then you got the Broncos and the Patriots. We're in 2013. We're in 2013 right now. It's and the Seahawks just played the 49ers, and that was the championship game back in the 2013-2014 season. Those were the two championship games. Peyton versus Brady, and then you had The Seahawks taking on the 49ers in the Crabtree post game rant by Richard Sherman. Actually, Richard Sherman and Aaron Andrews took a photo together over the weekend. I thought that was really funny. I still remember when that happened because Richard Sherman, got interviewed. The interview happened. I just remember watching that game in my basement, and then my mom comes down. She goes, "I wish the Seahawks would have lost." It was amazing. It was one of the most viral moments of recent memory when it comes to the NFL. And hey, Richard Sherman backed it up. That defense went on and had an all-time performance in the Super Bowl against an all-time offense. It goes back to what I said. They're one of the best defenses I've ever seen in my life. It's a Legion of Boom. But this Seattle defense right here, I brought Texans defense before. This is another defense. Very good. Very good. And they could be the difference. They're a tough defense. In all facets, man. They get after you. They could, they play great coverage. They're gonna be tough. The Rams got the receivers to take them on, but it's gonna be tough to run the football against them. So it's gonna be another grudge match between the Rams and the Seahawks, and we'll see if the Rams can get it. I mean, look, the Rams should have won that last meeting. All right, there was some crazy plays that happened. The 2-point conversion, Rashid Shaheed returning the kickoff, and then obviously they went for another 2 at the end. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun game. But yeah, that was divisional weekend. So the matchups are set on CBS next week, 3 p.m. Eastern time, I believe, is the start time. You got the Broncos taking on the Patriots in Mile High. Drake May against Jared Stidham. And then 6:30 p.m. Eastern time on Fox in Seattle. You got the Rams taking on the Seahawks. So looking forward to it. Should be a fun weekend. And then a couple weeks later, we'll have the Super Bowl at a Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. But I wanted to give you my quick thoughts on the national championship game. So Indiana, they win last night. Close game. They basically had to lead the entire game. Miami did have a chance at the end to go down the field, score a touchdown, and potentially win the game. Carson Beck threw an interception late, and that ended up being the difference. There was under a minute left in the game, and Indiana wins 27-21. They finished their perfect season, 16-0. And Fernando Mendoza, man, that's your number one pick right there. The signature play of the game was they go for it on 4th and 5. Deep in Miami territory. They're in the red zone, and Mendoza takes off, scrambles with it, and it was like a John Elway type play. He scores a touchdown, and that was the signature play of the game right there. I mean, Miami, they put up a valiant effort. Running back Mark Fletcher Jr. had a productive game, 17 carries for 112 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Carson Beck went 19 of 32, 232 yards, a touchdown, and the pick late. And Mendoza got hit a lot. He got hit a lot. Didn't have a monster game. He only went 16 of 27 for 186 yards. No touchdowns, no picks. But, he made the big plays when he had to. And the Hoosiers, I mean, who would have thought that? Indiana Hoosiers winning the national title game. They were a college football playoff team last year. But this year, I mean, they proved they were the best team, going 16-0. I mean, what a turnaround by this program. And now we'll see what Mendoza could do at the NFL level. And Carson Beck is another quarterback to keep an eye on in this upcoming draft as well. But he's going to be going to the Raiders. That's where all signs are pointing. So that was a great national championship game. So college football in the books. So now we turn our focus to the draft. For a lot of these players, and we'll see if Mendoza does indeed go number 1, but all signs point to that being the case, especially with Tom Brady also being there in attendance to watch. So we'll see. But that's pretty much it for the show for today, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to follow us on the social media platforms in the description below, and wherever you get your podcast, you can follow us as well. Just look up Infinite Sports, and you'll find us there. And until next time, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.